360-degree movement is almost required when playing a 3D platforming game, so I thought it would be fun to challenge myself by removing one of these axes of movement. So for this video, we'll be attempting to beat Sonic's story in Sonic Adventure DX without touching left, so without further delay, let's get started. The game starts out with Chaos Zero as usual. The boss is still pretty easy, mostly due to the fact that the arena is in a circle, making it easy to correct your position if needed. So with 3 quick hits, Chaos Zero bites the dust. After being thrown into the adventure field, I realized just how difficult this challenge might be. As you can see, I struggled to get into Emerald Coast's loading zone. Hold up, Mr. Editor Logan me here, and after watching through this footage, I realized what I said was completely wrong. I was not having any trouble getting into the loading zone. I think I was looking at this 4-minute practice test that I kind of did before just to see if I mapped the controls right, and I actually did have problems getting in there, so I tried to replicate it to see like why I didn't have problems this time, and I couldn't replicate the problems. So yeah, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, back to the video. After a little bit more struggling, however, I was able to successfully make it into the stage. Once inside, it was shockingly pretty easy. I was even able to get a few tricks in here and there, such as the spin dash jumping up to the platform. The only place in this level that really gave me any trouble was at the infamous loop. Since I couldn't move left, I basically had to keep running up against the wall, and if you've ever played the DX port of this game, you'd know that that means one less life for you. But aside from that spot, the level is easy, and we can confirm that Emerald Coast is possible. Next up is the first Eggman boss. This one is a little bit tricky, requiring you to constantly spin the camera and run in a circle, but it is doable. The next stage is Windy Valley, and it was a cakewalk as well, with the only real hard part being the corkscrew downwards. I basically had to keep jumping and spin dashing to correct my position. After kind of struggling to get to the train in the Mystic Ruins, I headed back to Station Square and picked up the Lightspeed shoes. Here I figured out something pretty handy. If you spin dash at a wall and jump at the correct time, then it will actually turn you around to face the opposite direction. This allows me to face left and make a spin dash in certain situations. After this, I made it to Casinopolis pretty effortlessly, and the stage was relatively easy as well, with the only hard part being a little bit of the pinball section. With the next emerald in hand, the run was looking pretty good for now. But I was kind of expecting for these early stages to be easy, but I knew once I got to the later stages, that would be a lot more challenging. But for now, I simply grabbed the ice key and headed to Ice Cap. The first part of this stage was pretty simple other than just my own incompetence on the icicle section. The second part of the level was the snowboarding section, and it was a bit more difficult because the board kept getting stuck on the side of the rocks. But with careful maneuvering and enough jumping, the next emerald was ours. Next was the Knuckles fight, and it was honestly as easy as ever, just 3,
Oh no!
and he was down. Chaos 4, on the other hand, was the first level to really be a challenge. Because of not being able to move left, I had to keep running and jumping in circles, and every time Chaos left itself open for attack, I was always at the wrong angle to perform an accurate homing attack. After a while of just jumping from lily pad to lily pad, Chaos finally got into a good position and I was able to finish it off. Next was Sky Chase Act 1, and soon I accidentally figured out that going all the way to the bottom right and just spamming the fire button will make it to where you never get hit. So that was pretty useful, and this stage was pretty fast to beat. After that, I went to Twinkle Park, and oh boy this level. This is where the challenge started to get hard. It all had to do with the bumper cars in the stage. The enemies weren't too bad of a problem, but it was actually the track itself, because the game's collision is kinda wonky, as most of you probably know if you've ever played this game. By having the car all the way to the right, it would constantly just throw the cart off the edge for no reason. I died dozens of times in the process of trying to get it to not do that. Eventually, I got really close and I knew it would be possible. After a few more tries, I was finally able to finish the track. Now that I finished that part, we now have to do the second half of the stage. And thankfully, it was a lot easier than the first half and I managed to complete the level. With half the stages complete, I was able to obtain the keycard that lets us into Speed Highway, so I went there next. Speed Highway was actually really fun, especially after all the Twinkle Park deaths. The only 2 deaths I really had here were 2 really cheap ones, and they were definitely my fault and had nothing to do with the challenge, so I completed it just fine. I decided now would be a good time to get the Crystal Ring upgrade, mostly because I'd forgotten it had existed before. Because it was impossible to hit both buttons before the door closed, I had to charge up a lightspeed dash in between both of the buttons so that the blue streaks would activate the first one while I hit the second one. Then I released the dash and quickly homing attacked into the door to pick up the ring. Now it was time for Red Mountain. This level was like Twinkle Park 2, unfortunately. From the beginning it was giving me problems, starting with this button which enables the rocket required to advance. Just like the crystal ring, I had to pull off a spin dash charge. The only problem is that the aiming was considerably harder because I had to not only stay in the direction of the rocket, but I also had to make sure not to either spin dash off the edge or run into the spiked ball. After a few tries, I was able to do it. The next section was then right here. No matter what angle I came at, I was never aligned to the left. To remedy this, I just did the tried and true tactic of spamming the homing attack until it gives you the result you want, as seen here. After that, the rest of the level wasn't too hard other than just the general irritation of running around without pressing left. Next was Sky Chase Act 2, and because of how well it worked in Act 1, I tried the same tactic of going to the bottom corner. It worked until the mini-boss at the end of the level, since I couldn't move up to shoot the laser. So I had to restart the level while staying in the center this time. This time it worked fine, and I was able to advance. Next was Sky Deck, and this level was pretty easy at first until I got to the large columns where you have to shimmy around. This was annoying because if you did what I did and accidentally missed the ladder, that means you have to go all the way back around the cylinder. The next annoying part was towards the end of the level. To get to the top, I did my spam homing attack trick again and then went up this ladder. Unfortunately, since this whole section is left, I must find a way to bypass it. After about 10 minutes of trying, I somehow got this to work. I have no idea how that was able to work, but hey, I'll take it. The next section is where the level flips sideways, and here I have another section where I have to try to go left without hitting left. After spamming the homing attack and hitting the controller in the 3 other directions available, I was able to move Sonic in line for a spin dash. After this, I simply ran in all the other directions but left, where instead I spin dashed. Fortunately, this worked because the area was enclosed. And with that, we can mark this level as a win. Now we go up to the ship and beat the bolts out of Gamma and change the ship's shape back to normal. After this, the Chaos 6 fight is fairly simple with me basically just running around in circles similar to how the Chaos 0 fight was. Next up is Lost World, and this entire level made me want to quit. The first annoying part was the snake. While not difficult, it was very stressful because I had to do very precise homing attacks on and off the snake to raise the water level. Next was the mirrors. This was incredibly annoying because if I accidentally hit a mirror that required me to shine it at a left-facing mirror, then I basically had to just restart the level and try again because you're not allowed to exit the mirror once you enter it. Overall, this part wasn't too hard. I mostly kept getting stupid deaths because I was getting tired from beating this game in one sitting. Next was the Boulder part, and it was pretty fun actually. But then came the part of suffering for me. The room where you have to line up the side panels to walk up the wall and the ceiling. This part was fairly easy until the last set, where every time I walked up, the angle would just be wrong, and the spikes would either knock me all the way to the bottom, or they would kill me. I got a few game overs on this, and I'll be honest, it was pretty frustrating. Mostly because it wasn't even that hard, but just because I was playing bad. Eventually, I was able to finish this section though, and I was able to make it to the final level. And to be honest, there isn't much to say about this final level. It really wasn't difficult, I just got lost a lot because I haven't played this game in quite a long time. And finally, here we go, the Egg Viper, which is the final boss in Sonic's story. And I won't lie, it took me around an hour to beat this one because I had to get a good rhythm that went something like this. Wait right before the first set of lasers come, then run a short way to the right, then stop, and repeat that cycle. I then have to make sure I stop a bit early so that Eggman lines right in front of me, or else I'd have to start the fight over because his laser would be able to shoot me and I wouldn't be able to dodge it. Then I do the first attack, land on the other side, while if I have time, I'm able to get rings before the camera changes. Then I have to repeat the first step while also spin dashing or running away from the ray laser for the second and third hit. Next, the stage spins and changes perspective. His first attack at this new angle is just shooting lasers, which is really easy to dodge just by running forward. The rest of his attacks have these giant spinning platforms hurling at you. For these, I must wait on the platform and line up my attack perfectly because it's impossible to correct my jump if I miss. Then I just repeat until there's 2 platforms left, dodge the final sneak attack, and bam! Just like that, we can confirm that it is indeed possible to beat Sonic's story and Sonic Adventure without hitting left. Overall, this challenge was a blast to do, and I honestly didn't think it would be possible, but lo and behold, it was. So with that, thank you all for watching and let me know what you all want me to do next time. Take care.